This identification is on Samuel Gompers. His, his years are from 1850 to 1924. He was born to a Jewish family in England before the family migrated to the United States. Okay, so we see here he was born in England in 1850. They migrated in 1863 to New York City. And then Gompers actually worked, his father was a cigar maker. They would sell cigars and make them out of their home. And so Gompers was very interested in cigar making because of his dad. But then Gompers joined the cigar making union, which was the big change in his life. In 1864, he was in the cigar making union. He eventually worked his way up in the union and went on from there. Okay, so at an older age, he was in the cigar making union, so he was trying to secure rights for cigar makers, and he became the leader of the cigar making union. Um, and became president of the cigar making union, trying to secure rights, for working conditions. Um, but eventually, he went on into a much higher position, um, and he helped organize the largest union in the world, the American Federation of Labor. And the rest of his life was dedicated to workers' rights. And so Gompers ran the union, and of course, in this kind of industrial revolution that was going on in the late 1800s in the United States, so many new workers were working in oil refineries, factories, coal mines, railroads. That a need was developing in which workers needed representation and workers needed support because some of these companies mistreated the workers or pay them poorly or put them in dangerous positions. And then they had to work in dangerous conditions, sometimes for extremely low wages and long hours. So the unions came along and the workers embraced this idea to have a group of people um, then supporting each other through a union. And the AFL, which was the union he started, the number one way they used to get workers' rights was to have strikes if they felt that the workers were not getting what they deserved, as well as boycotts of certain products. Uh, and actually, a very famous workers' rights person, much later than this, Cesar Chavez, used boycotts of grapes to get his rights for migrant workers. But that we're getting way ahead with that. But that's an example of using boycotts. If wine workers then get people to boycott grapes. So anyway, getting back to Gompers, boycotts was one way, but strikes was the number one way to get support for workers. And this is just one strike that we see in the newspaper. Um, and so the union's desire, their goals was to get higher pay for workers, um, less working hours, and then safer working conditions. And this particular union was focused on skilled workers. It did have some unskilled workers too, but it was primarily, especially for skilled workers. So there's a flag for the American Federation of Labor, this union that Gompers ran, um, that was existed for workers' rights, and by unifying a large group of workers to then gain power, where through having people in the union cooperate with each other. Um, so later in his life, he arranged cooperation with unions in other countries. He went to Mexico and met with union leaders in Mexico, and also he met with the Pan American Federation of Labor um, to have unions across the hemisphere unite, because there was situations in which workers needed rights in all countries. So Gompers reached out to Pan America and then expanded union rights this way. So he died of heart failure in 1924, and he's had a few memorials, but you know, you can drive by Gompers Park all the time. It's in the northwest side of Chicago, and that might not strike you what it is, but Gompers Park is named after Samuel Gompers, and it's at Montrose and Pulaski. If you're ever driving in that area, it's a nice big park. So that's the story of Samuel Gompers.